And here we go. Digital Adele back with another Hoops Profile Beyond the Backboard podcast for you with my co-host, Matt Hanifan. This is the College to the Pros segment. How are you feeling today, Matt?
Feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. How about yourself?
Oh, I am outstanding. It's been a eventful last 24 hours. As people know, we also are contributors on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. If you have not checked us out over there on playback.tv/5RSN, do so. But there was a lot of chaos last night for a couple of reasons for the Miami Heat. We're not going to talk Heat specifically a lot, but there are some elements I want to touch on. Before that, big congratulations to Matt Hanifan live on scene for that Miami Heat versus Sacramento Kings game. Tell me about your experience reporting from the sidelines.
It was so unbearably loud the fourth quarter on. Just because it's like, Miami has a 17-point lead.
Right.
They start hitting shots. Miami can't generate any offense. They're getting offensive rebounds like nobody's business. DeMar obviously goes nuts in double overtime, scoring 9 of their 11 points. Like,
sure,
it was loud. It was very, very loud. But no, man, it was a really cool environment and very cool experience. I'm very glad I was fortunate enough to do it. So yeah, everything, despite the result,
right,
everything went really, really well.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad that you were able to get that experience. You dropped some nuggets along the way. You gave some good steal shots and pregame shoot around, and
the recording was awful.
I didn't want to bring it up.
The recording was my recordings were awful. Listen, this is the initiation to being a 5 Reasons employee.
That's it.
Having terribly bad camera. And especially like the live shots, like I went back and watched them, and it was just like it felt so much more zoomed out than it actually was.
Right.
And that was not my intention. I don't know. Again, something to learn for the future, I guess. But camera work on my part was admittedly bad.
Shaky at best.
Okay. Correct.
How to go pitching your questions to one coach Eric Spoelstra?
I think before the game it was better than after, because after he was just so irritably mad.
Right, I can imagine.
And then before it wasn't bad or difficult or anything like that.
But you felt comfortable asking the questions is my thing. I like it. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. You're talking to Eric Spoelstra, so it's a little bit intimidating, sure.
Is it?
A little bit.
Okay. No, I'm glad you're being honest.
He steps in the room and you feel the energy.
I get it, man.
That's what it's like. Because again, pregame, coach is just ready to go. He's ready to run through a wall, and then after the game, he's seething. You could see smoke coming from his ears.
Oh, I know that feeling well. I was seething also.
Yeah, and so it's you feel the energy, but no.
We lost Matt Hanifan. Where has he gone? Into the abyss. One of the Heat staff yanked him.
Oh yeah,
there you are. You're back. You're back.
No, I was just finishing up. I was like, it wasn't I was comfortable asking questions.
Sweet, dude. I like it. That's all it is, dude. Having the confidence, asking right questions, getting more and more polished at your approach with the questions as you go. But if you have that confidence, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I don't know if I could probably word some of them a little bit better.
Yeah.
But that you live and you learn with that.
Yeah, that, like you said, practice reps, dude. Everybody needs practice reps. But that's cool. But let's talk about a video I made today on the Hoops Profile channel. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It is on one Kel'el Ware. He is a rookie first-round pick for the Miami Heat, 15th overall in the 2024 NBA draft. Long, athletic, has all the tools in the toolbox that you could ask for. during my evaluations, I had pointed out and mentioned he has some struggles, and there's going to be some hard times when it comes to defensive IQ, when it comes to boxing out, tracking rebounds, going after rebounds with one arm. And so I made a cut up because last night during the Miami Heat game, and you were in the arena, he let a lot of rebounds get past him. The whole team did, mind you, most of them. Jaime had a good rebounding night, Jaime Hawkins Jr. from the 2023 draft. But Kel'el Ware specifically ended up with 3 rebounds. One of them came right to him. There was nobody around him, and it like bounced into his arms. One he tipped out for his teammate. And then the third one he grabbed over, I believe it was Keegan Murray with 2 hands. So it shows he's capable of doing it, but he just doesn't. There were so many plays where he just one arm, doesn't jump. One play, Tyler and I think Pella tacked the glass and were fighting with 2 Kings players while Ware was just standing there watching. Didn't leave the floor, didn't try to grab the board, just was standing there watching. Was it as frustrating in person as it was on playback for us?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, obviously when you're not trying to be biased or anything like that,
Right.
or like but like if you're just talking about like there was a lot of offensive rebounds. And I was surprised when I looked at it after. I think if the final number was like 18 or 19, like it felt like it was more than that. I actually went earlier today. I did some digging.
Yeah.
Because I was just curious to see what Ware's rebounding like percentage was relative to a few of his peers.
Right.
And so when I looked at it before, minimum 200 minutes played, and so like it's an arbitrary cutoff because Ware's played I think like 211 minutes or something like that. Like it's not like a huge sample that he's played, but it just like an arbitrary cutoff of 7-foot bigs who have played that many minutes. His total rebounding percentage was 23 out of 28. It was around 13%. And his defensive rebounding percentage was better, but it was still like middle of the pack. It was like 16 to 28.
Right.
And this was among players who are 7 foot and above. That this is per stat head.
Yeah.
And then I looked at it from I did 6'11" just because that's
right. Close enough.
It's a little it's broader for sure. His defensive rebounding percentage is 31 out of 49.
Is that bad?
Not great. Worse, his total rebounding percentage is 40th out of 40 minutes. So defensive rebounding percentage 31. Total rebounding percentage the 10th worst, 40 out of 49. Like it's not good. And like just some of the bigs that he's above in this total rebounding percentage. Kristaps Porzingis, who hasn't really played much this season. He's been injured on and off when he has played. Miles Turner, Zach Collins, Alex Sarr, who we've talked about before in the rebounding struggles, Jabari Smith Jr., Larry Markkinen, Kevin Durant, who I think they have classified as 6'11", and then Jay Huff and Brooke Lopez. And then players that he's behind, some notable players he's behind, Alex Len, Jackson Hayes, Santi Aldama, Christian Koloko, Neemias Queta, Joel Embiid, Evan Mobley, Mo Wagner, Luke Cornett. Nisi's 29 out of 49 in total rebounding percentage, but he's been really, really he's been one of the more productive players on the offensive glass specifically.
Oh yeah, he's great on the offensive glass.
His offensive rebounding percentage is 8 out of 49 in that group.
Outstanding. Yeah, outstanding.
And so like it just to give some perspective on where kind of ranks on that leaderboard, and it's not very high.
Right.
And I was looking at it from the lens of these last 3 games against Kessler, Turner, and then Sabonis last night in the minutes that he's kind of shared with them. It's not a big sample. It's like 17 minutes, but they have those 3 bigs or that team in general, they have an offensive rebounding percentage of 50.
I've got a stat for you. in terms of rebound percentage on the Miami Heat, you know who had a higher rebound percentage than Kel'el Ware on the team for the season?
I know where you're going with this.
Do you?
Yes.
You want to take a guess at it?
Keyshawn.
Well, definitely Keyshawn, because he had the second highest on the entire team, or third highest. One of the two. Second or third highest. Because it went Kevin Love, Bam, and then Keyshawn. Thomas Bryant.
Oh. And are you just talking defensive rebounding or total?
Total. Thomas Bryant has a higher total rebound percentage than Kel'el Ware. Thomas flippin' Bryant.
And the thing with Ware last night specifically, I mean, you could probably say this about a few different games too, but last night specifically is the physicality when Sabonis was sharing the floor with him.
Oh yeah, it was noticeable.
And so that was one thing where it's like this is, just another, I mean, again, it's going to come with time, you hope at least,
right?
From everything that Spo has said, other people have said, as he's putting in the work in the weight room.
Right.
But like, this is just another, like, you're going to need to pack some weight on. If you want to hang with these guys. And to Sabonis's credit, like, he is one of the stronger bigs in the league. Like, he plays with a lot of physicality every single night. And so this isn't new for him, but Ware in the sense where he's 7 foot 240 or whatever, like he's not at the level that he needs to be yet. And like, I'm not expecting him to be, but like, you could definitely see, like, at one point in my head, I was thinking, I don't think Spo should match these minutes. Like, I think Spo should match Bam's minutes with Sabonis.
For sure.
If this is what you're going to do. Because it's like, this is just he's just being way too physical. And like, Miami's losing these minutes considerably.
No doubt.
Whether they're in zone or in man, it's not an ideal matchup for him in the slightest. And that's the litmus test that he's going to have over these next several games. Like, he's got Trace Jackson Davis tonight. I know Trace Jackson Davis is 6'9", but he's like an effective rebounder for his size.
Athletic, has a motor. But the other thing is too, one of the rebounds where he was parked directly under the backboard. Sabonis was at like the dotted line, and Ware just stood under the backboard and then braced for contact as Sabonis washed him out of bounds. And I'm like, what are we doing? We got to give some kind of better effort than that. Like, if you know you're not as strong, then you need to be quicker. Like, you have to give some sort of effort. He just does not give that sort of effort. But I don't want to make this all about Kel'el Ware or the Miami Heat, but I did want to get your thoughts on it because you were in the arena last night, staying away from the beam because it is the prototype for the Death Star.
I saw it from my hotel room after the game. I was like, man.
It's tough, dude.
This silly beam. They like that thing a lot. Like, I put it in the Discord. Right. But I went for the they had the second round of the March Madness a couple years ago in Sacramento, and so my dad and I went.
Yeah.
And they lit the beam each night. College, and but they lit the beam each night. I think that was the first season of the beam, and so like they were still riding the high with it, and like, not that it was a bad thing, but they just liked that beam a lot.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of a cool thing. Like, if I was a Kings fan, like, I would love it, but I'm not. It's like a cool little, like, for lack of a better word, gimmick. Like, especially if you win, like, it's a cool thing for like the city and something to embrace. It's like a bat call.
Yeah. It is a strange thing, man. It's the bat signal. Yeah, I don't know what they use it multi-purpose. I swear they shoot down alien spaceships like it's Independence Day. All kind of different things with that beam, dude. But let's move on from the Sacramento Kings. I wanted to talk about something really interesting that happened yesterday. Victor Wembanyama got posterized in clutch time by Kobe White. Dunked on his head to win the game. I love Victor Wembanyama's game. I think he's an alien. He's special. He's all that. But how do you get dunked on by 6'1" Kobe White? Or is he 6'2"? I'm not sure.
I feel like Kobe's bigger.
Is he bigger? Maybe he's bigger. But dude, he got
in my head, he
yammed
was
on.
like 6'4".
Probably is. I'm treating him like you treat Ace Bailey.
Yeah. Yeah, Basketball Reference has Kobe White at 6'5".
All right, he's tall. Wemby's 7'4" or something crazy, 7'3" or something. But anyway, I just thought it was an interesting thing to watch. It was crazy to see. The other thing is all these trade packages are being thrown around because, there's this little story in the NBA. It's a very small story about this guy who played for the Miami Heat and still does technically. His name's Jimmy Butler. I don't know if you've heard about it.
No, I haven't heard of him. Can you give me some background?
Yeah, I mean, he likes coffee, and he wants paid right now. I mean, and
hey, listen, that's me. What are we like? What?
That's right. That's Matt Hanifan.
Yeah,
likes coffee, wants paid.
Like yeah, just like me, man. Just like we have a lot in common. Listen, me and this Jimmy guy that you speak of.
Mad hops, dude. You both have mad hops. That's what you have in common.
Well, maybe not that. He's probably more athletic than I am.
Ghost, I have no idea what your name is, but I'm gonna guess whatever. I don't know. But anyway, Ghost says Jimmy Butler. Nope, not ringing a bell. Never heard of him. Does he play golf?
No. I listen. Pickleball. Like what?
Pickleball.
What does this Jimmy Butler individual do?
No. Professional dominoes player.
Yeah. What kind of what packages?
Well, but here's what I thought of the other day. It's impossible because two-way contracts are not tradable assets.
Yeah.
But man, I would have liked Jalen Bridges to be thrown in as like just a throwaway in any trade, and then our undrafted spectacular trifecta of Pele, Kashad, and Jalen Bridges would be complete.
Hey, listen, Phoenix, if you're listening, please get him on a standard.
That's right. Convert him just so he can be
trade him away. Yeah. Realize you're like, I don't know if I can keep him and Jimmy Butler, role redundancy, maybe. Have a good future here.
That's right. Maybe Jimmy just might be good enough to take his minutes.
A little bit.
I wanted to switch to Keyshawn Hall. I know we talked about him. I actually reached out to him to see if I can try to get him on the pod. So if you're listening, Keyshawn, we want you on the pod. We want to do an interview. Mm-hmm. We think the world of your game, 6'7", 250. And I just think the world needs to understand how ridiculously versatile that guy is. I was looking at his Instagram, and he calls himself the Big Guard. That's actually, it's Keyshawn the Big Guard Hall. So
it's not a bad one.
Yeah, when we were like, wait, this guy's 6'7", 250 and handles the ball like that? Now that gives you a little insight as to what he thinks about himself as well.
And again, just going back off what we saw from the Texas Tech game. I know you've watched more of him recently than I have, but the passes that he was making, especially at doubles.
Yep.
It's not bad, man. Not bad. No. He has some guard skills.
He has guard skills, man. He's good at reading the floor. He accepts the doubles. Good footwork. In that video I did of him, he did a in and out dribble, hezzy, and go. So the in and out dribble back towards the guard that was guarding him, froze him. The big retreated, and then as the big retreated, he drove to the lane and got fouled. Definitely guard skills in a 6'7" body, dude. Just outstanding mobility and versatility. But I just wanted to put that out there. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you know Keyshawn Hall, or you are Keyshawn Hall and you're watching, we want you on the podcast. We'd love to interview, shine some light on your game and your story.
If you're Keyshawn Hall's third cousin,
that's right.
Please get in contact with them ASAP, please.
That's right. We have no money to offer him. We have no NIL connections. We only have good vibes.
Don't tell him that, though. Don't tell just.
Oh yeah,
don't tell him the good vibes part.
Yeah, tell him the good vibes part. But moving on, was there anybody else in college basketball that you've watched that's caught your eye over the last couple of days? I'm working on 2 videos that we'll talk about in the coming segment. But is there anybody that you saw or anything that caught your eye in the college basketball world?
There's a couple of things. One, I told you before we got on here that I had some Ian Jackson questions for you.
Let's hop to it.
So 4 straight 20-point games for Ian Jackson. He had 26, I believe he had 26 against Notre Dame this last week.
And Cadeau hit the game-winning 3. What happened?
Yeah. And so my question to you is like, I don't know, when I was watching him, again, this is like a 1-game sample, and then I've seen some like, different tape here and there.
Right.
Of him. Like, I haven't fully deep dove into what he can do yet, but like you see like his catch and shoot potential, his ability to create off the dribble, how efficient he is. What's your, this is kind of like a 2-part question too, but like, what's your ceiling for like his role, at least like within the first couple of years in the NBA? And then how do you think that impacts his draft stock? Because it's like, I'm saying this as Tankathon has him 28.
Right.
I don't think he's 1 spot above Caravan. No disrespect to Caravan, but I just think he's a better prospect than Caravan.
Right.
Even though, because I've watched a lot of Caravan, not a bad player.
No.
But I think Jackson just is the better prospect, even though he is like an older freshman. He's 1 spot behind JT Toppin. He's 3 spots behind his teammate Drake Powell, who again I've been on record saying I just don't think should be. I think he should go back for another year. He's 5 spots behind Cam Jones, 6 behind Will Riley, and then you go on down the board. Not to say he would go above these guys, but as of right now, where do you see his ceiling as a player and as where he could get picked just based on what you've seen so far? I know this is all fluid.
No, I mean, that's a great question. So there's a couple of things. One, I think he's a better prospect than Drake Powell. Powell's very athletic. He's very athletic. But in terms of his polish, his game, his feel, his mechanics on his shot, I think Ian Jackson clears Drake Powell. But there's a few things I'd really like to know for sure when it comes to Ian Jackson. He's listed at 6'4", and he's also listed at 180 pounds. Schools tend to exaggerate heights and weights to make you better. So if he comes in at the combine and he's only 6'1", and he's 170 pounds, that changes things.
It positively affects everyone if you're not named like Kevin Durant, who's said he's 6'9" for years, and everyone's like, no, dude, you're at least 7'1".
You're a 7'1" with guard skills. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it really comes down to what his measurables are and how big his hands are, what his testing's like at the combine. Because I like what I see at the college level. His catch and shoot ability is real. That part will translate in the NBA, especially in today's game. If you look at an Andrew Nembhard, if you look at any of those spot up guards that can get out and run as well as, shoot threes, layups and threes, he'll be great at. He'll be great at that at the next level. Operating in the half court, finishing in the paint, at the NBA level, that's where I have questions because of his potential lack of size. His free throw rate, he only gets to the free throw line 3.5 times per game on average. He's a decent free throw shooter, 72%. He shoots 50% from the field, 40% from 3, but I would really like to know what that is like against high quality front lines. And I can't filter that out quickly. I don't have that kind of time to know. So we're going to find out more come tournament time, and then also when the combine comes out, if that answers your question enough.
Well, this is also something that I noticed when I was just like looking at the profile. He's played a lot recently as opposed to where he was at the beginning. It's just like his role has grown.
Oh, yeah.
And so with that, like, just for example, last 4 games, 32, 36, 35, and 38 minutes, respectively.
Oh,
Before
yeah.
that, he never cracked 30. He was at 22, 24, 27, 28, 21, and then it was in the teens before that.
Right.
So, like, his role has grown pretty considerably over the last, as the seasons went on, and rightfully so. Like,
Rightfully so.
He's been their best player. And so that's where it's like when I think about that, it's like, okay, you have 24 points against a very good UCLA team. You have 27 points against like a well-coached Notre Dame team, I would say.
Right.
But then, like, all right, once ACC play continues to ramp up, once you start you're bumping yourself up those scouting reports. Like, teams are scheming against you. Like, that's where it's like I'm very curious to see how he reacts to that specifically. And maybe, I'm not saying he's going to react poorly or react well to that, but I'm just very interested to see, because it was like when I was looking at at least the raw numbers and, again, the stuff that I watched, some of what he was doing, I know this is not like, this is far from like an analogous comparison, but he was kind of reminding me of like Jared McCain last year.
Yeah, that's a good one.
For some of the stuff that he was doing outside of like the playmaking, because he's definitely not the playmaker that Jared is. And like it's just 2 different kinds of games, but like that was kind of where my mind first went.
Right.
Because it was like, I just think his on-ball usage should be just a little bit more. When I was looking at it, their numbers were, I think, pretty similar, although I think Jackson's usage is higher than what McCain's was last year.
For sure. I got a comparison for you that I thought of as you were talking. If his measurables in terms of height and weight are correct, comparing him to Cam Jones, their games are actually pretty comparable, except for Cam's a better ball handler.
Right.
And he's older, of course. So Cam Jones is, 23 years old. Ian Jackson's 20. But Cam Jones is 6'5", but he's 200 pounds. But they look like they weigh the same amount.
Maybe I'm underselling
Cam Jones.
Jackson. I think I'm underselling Jackson in terms of like his, because to me, I look at Cam Jones and he's like a 6'5", like muscular guy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I see Jackson in that. Not that he's not, but when I initially watched him, I don't see him as that same prototype, I guess.
Right.
That's not a bad one though, just from like a game perspective. Again, like I think Cam is a much better ball handler and playmaker.
Oh, for sure, the better playmaker.
He'll make those reads that Jackson doesn't get.
Well, but
not that I've seen this.
But take a gander at this. I know you can't see it, but I'm gonna talk you through it. The per 36 stats: Cam Jones 22.3 points per game. Ian Jackson 21.7.
Mm-hmm.
Rebounds: Cam Jones 5.5. Ian Jackson 4.9. Here's the difference maker: assists 7.2 to Ian Jackson's 1. Their blocks are almost identical. Cam Jones is better in the passing lanes, almost 2 steals per game to 0.7 for Ian Jackson. Turnovers are identical. Fouls are identical. Field goal percentage is almost identical. Ian Jackson's a better 3-point shooter. Free throw percentage is almost identical. Like all their stats outside of playmaking and steals are almost identical. And Jackson's only 20 years old, and Cam's been developing for 3 additional years.
Right.
So I think that's a great comparison. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I just realized that was very self-serving. That's a great comparison because I said it.
Yeah. You sound like me now. I want to see if there was anything, like, I know you and I talked about in the Discord. I wasn't able to watch this whole game, but I watched like 2/3 of it. Jeremiah Fears against Alabama.
Woo!
Uh, Again, you were on the Fears train before me. Not that I ever disliked him, but growth isn't always linear.
Growth isn't always linear. Sometimes
growth
you gotta
is
take
not
your
always
lumps.
linear because that was not what I was expecting from Jeremiah. And again, in a hostile environment against a good Alabama team.
Very good Alabama team. Very good. And an
What missed his
experienced team.
first 7 shots? What was it? 7, 8 shots?
7, 8 shots, dude. It wasn't pretty. It was not pretty. But I'll get into that because I wanted to talk about that because I'm making a video on Fears and LeBaron Philon, who was also in that game. But I want to take a fan question because it came up. I really appreciate your support, Stephen Fine. Don't forget to like and subscribe. His question: what are your thoughts on Duke center Kaman Malawach? Malawach is a very interesting prospect from a size, wingspan. He's got good hands. I mean, he'll block shots. He plays defense. But I also think he's very, very raw.
Yeah.
And I know that Knipple and Cooper Flagg get a lot of attention. And I would like to see him be able to capitalize on that attention a little bit better than 8 points per game. More than a block per game. But when he does get the ball in the paint, it's highly efficient because of that wingspan. Like, he's not super explosive, but he's finishing at like 78% from the field. So I like him as a prospect. I just need to see more from him on the glass, dominating in terms of blocking shots. I just need to see a little bit more from him in terms of capitalizing on his opportunities to score the basketball. What are your thoughts on Malawach? Have you had a chance to watch him?
Yeah, well, yeah, like you and I talked about this earlier in the season. I feel like for me, his role whenever I've watched him offensively, like it's been a little inconsistent. Like there are times where, I mean, when you're evaluating this stuff, you're trying to toss it like, all right, is he taking himself out of the offense, or is like they're his teammates, the ball handler, whomever, just aren't making the reads to find him in those open slots, and it feels like more of the former than the latter sometimes.
Right.
But then like when he is able to capitalize on that, like to your point, he's very efficient. I think he's done a good job. Like I saw somewhere where someone said that he was like the best rim protector in the class. I vehemently disagree with that, but I do think he does do a good job, like deterring shots away from the rim. Like even if he isn't always getting the block, he can use that wingspan, that standing reach to deter shots from the rim without fouling, or at least not fouling at a crazy rate. And so I think that's something that's part of his game that I like a lot. But I would like to see him, not he is raw, like, but I would like to see a little bit more activity offensively, even sometimes on the glass.
Yes.
Just because of his size and like because I mean he's just like a gigantic human being. He's 7'2" with I don't know what his wingspan is.
It's going to be crazy, dude. It's going to be crazy. Yeah.
And so like for someone of his size, his physical tools, even though he's not, crazy athletic, he's athletic enough to grab a ton of rebounds.
He is.
And again, I feel like at certain points throughout the season, that's been a little inconsistent. And so that's where it's like, I just want to see more from there too. I mean, I think if you started the draft today, I think he's a for sure lottery pick.
He's a lottery pick. Definitely.
I think that's his floor, maybe even like a top 10 pick, depending on, where teams are drafting, 7, 8, 9, 10. But
he's definitely a lottery pick. I think he's a top 10 pick.
Yeah. And so like it's not like I'm not trying to like, rag on the guy or anything like that. But again, he's still raw. He's in a context where he's with Cooper Flagg, he's with Proctor, he's with Knipple, he's with all these guys who have not like relative usage players.
Yep.
So I can see to some extent where it's hard for him to find, a balance of what you want him to do, like in a game. But I think to some extent he's done a good job with it, but you just want to see more.
Well, when someone called him the best rim protector in the class, I disagree with that.
It was something like that. I can't remember where I saw that, but I did see that a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I don't know if I would necessarily.
Badunga, who backs up, he's a freshman at Kansas who backs up Dickinson. He backs up Dickinson. Badunga is a freak, dude. I mean, you talk about a defensive, probably the best defensive player in the class in terms of a big. The best defensive big is Badunga. That dude can switch. He can block shots. He can run the floor really, really well. And he has an NBA body already as a freshman. Like, if he wasn't behind Dickinson, I think he's one of the biggest names in the country. I really do. But that is neither here nor there. Let's get back to Jeremiah Fears. He had a really rough game against Alabama. You're welcome, Steven. I appreciate you stopping by and posing that question. But Jeremiah Fears had a really rough game. He's one of the quickest point guards in the country. I mean, he's shifty. He's great with the dribble. But what really stuck out to me in that game, and this is a learning lesson for him, is finishing through physicality and contact. That Alabama team is experienced. They got a lot of senior players, a lot of juniors and seniors on that team. And Marcus Sears is one of the strongest players in the entire country. Even though he's tiny, he's short, but he's one of the strongest players in the country. And he was just getting out physicaled all day. He just could not keep up with the physicality. He would routinely beat his man off the dribble and then run into, another player, and he just wasn't strong enough to finish through contact or finish over them. And then his three ball wasn't falling. And so that kind of snowballed on him. And I think it just kind of got in his head a little bit. So I'm still high on him. But those are going to be things to watch out as the year goes on. Does he adjust to that physicality? Does he continue having those issues? If he does, that might be a red flag for him come taking that jump to the NBA. LeBaron Philon for Alabama, though, on the other side of it, that dude's got attitude. Fearless. That guy's fearless. I liked what I saw from LeBaron, and he can shoot the rock, dude. He's got a really nice form on his three-point shot, and he plays an unselfish brand of basketball, and he plays a physical brand of basketball. I like LeBaron, man. He's fast also. What did you see from both of those players, Fears and Philon?
It did look like the thing with Fears is 6'4", 182. He's a freshman, or at least again, that's what he's listed.
That's what he's listed as.
As of this date, it did seem to me that Philon was extra motivated.
Yeah, he's jacked
with Fears. Like it seemed like to me that was circled on his calendar.
Right.
He is very quick. When you're talking about, Oklahoma's in the SEC, I was about ready to say Big 12. SEC, it's going to be, the SEC's been the best conference in college basketball this year. So how does Fears respond to that? And then conversely, how does Philon build off that?
Right.
Because that was a really, really good performance from him. I'm completely with you. 16 points, 5 assists, 2 steals, 4 rebounds in 26 minutes. Those are the numbers that you want to see. He was 5 of 10 from the floor, 2 of 5 from deep. His third game with at least 2 threes over his last 4.
Yeah.
And he wasn't really shooting the ball all that well to begin the season. He's still at 28.3%. So perhaps he's, getting more confident, getting those reps in. It's not that he's been incredibly, incredibly efficient over those last 4 games, but it's just a step of growth, a step of development. Just from watching him play, to some extent, I think for him, this is not a mechanical thing, but right. I want to see him quicken his release a little bit.
Talking about Philon, right?
Yeah, Philon.
Yeah.
To me, it feels like it takes him a second to get into that shot. And I want that's something like if you're just looking at like, all right, how is this going to fare against an NBA athlete? Like, I don't know if it will fare particularly well initially. And so like again, it's something I'm talking about again, a guy, a freshman who's 19 years old. Like, yeah, that's
Right.
going to improve, I think, over time. But that's just something that I'm eyeing and something that I want to see between now and when the draft starts, or now and summer league, so on and so forth. Like
Right.
that'll be something that I'm looking out for. But like to me, it was a very well-rounded uh, performance from him.
Yeah. I think that was his probably best game of the season because of the competition he was playing. And the other thing is because everybody else on that team is older, he's kind of having to earn it and prove it. That's why he's not getting the high usage. And a guy like Marcus Sears is going to handle the ball most of the time. The fact that he can play in the backcourt with Sears is a very good sign for his NBA transition, because you're not always the best player coming into an NBA franchise. So if you can also play off ball and on ball as a guard, that just makes your life so much easier, makes you so much more valuable to the coach.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I loved what I saw. I loved what I saw from LeBaron. But I am doing a video on fears. I am doing a video on LeBaron Phylon. So those videos will be pre-scheduled to go out to the public. If you're a channel member, it's only $2.99 per month to become a channel member. You get access to those video breakdowns immediately. You can always come join us live on the podcast. Doesn't cost you anything. Hitting that like button's free as well, which I definitely appreciate. But yeah, man, really excited about what I saw in college basketball. I want to touch on, I know we talk about Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper a lot. Dylan Harper's been sick. I don't know if he's got the norovirus that Jimmy had or what, but man, he just looked gassed. He looked like he had no energy. They were using him as a decoy on offense. He was just standing in the corner a lot. But Ace Bailey really is struggling to carry that team because it is Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey together as their only offense. And without Dylan Harper, he is struggling. Now, he scored like 36 points the last time they played. But this recent game, man, he only had like 9 points, like terrible efficiency. It was like 30% from the field. He did give you like 7 rebounds and a couple assists, but he just looked gassed. Did you get to watch any of that or no?
I was not able to watch that, no, but I did see the Indiana performance. And like, again, like you see the kind of shot making that he has, but you can attest to this more than I can. Was it just like a lot of jump shots? Was it like
it was a little bit of everything. So he tried to go inside, he tried to, go outside. They were doubling him on the catch. Like,
yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Right. That's what's gonna happen. But overall, even though he had that bad game, I still come away with he's an elite shot maker at any level. And when he comes into the NBA, he's going to be right up there with the elite shot makers in the game. The thing for him that I worry about, is he in a good enough shape, NBA shape, professional shape, and he's going to be strong enough to compete at the NBA level right away?
Yeah.
Because he is 6'10".
I mean, again, like I also just want to see him getting reps where he's creating legitimate separation.
That's fair. It's fair.
Like, because I mean, again, like when you talk, I mean, I think that kind of plays to some extent hand in hand with his strength or lack thereof, just because it's like he's gonna be getting. It's gonna be hard for him to get to his spots, or he's gonna get pushed off his spots. Like if he's thin, and like I want to see him, get reps being able to create separation off the dribble. And I think part of that too is like just the ball handling. Like, what he's capable of doing when he's able to rise up, no matter how his body's contorted. It's crazy.
Doesn't matter at all.
But just like if you're just looking at it from like a shot creation standpoint, I know it's, again, I've said this before, like, I know it's a comfort level thing and you want players to lean into what they're comfortable with, but just if I'm looking at it like as a pure evaluation standpoint, I want to see him being able to like create shots effectively and efficiently. And I don't know if relying on a tough shot diet is the most conducive to his success. He's shown that he's capable of doing it.
Right.
100%, like capable of like making tough shots, and even like when he takes tough shots. But if that's something that you're relying on more often than not, that's where it's like I have just a little bit of concern in the sense that like I want to see him, being able to create efficiently for himself. And then I think by doing that, he's going to be able to create efficiently for others.
Right.
In a better context at the next level.
No, I agree with you. He's definitely going to have a lot to clean up when it comes to, playmaking, the ability to, beat people off the bounce and create a little space at the next level. But I think that stuff can come with time. I think you take a shot on his talent. With that being said, before I go around tonight's slate of games, because tonight has a great slate of games, so I just wanted to mention them to you. Would you take Kasparas Giacochonis over Ace Bailey today?
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. That's the thing about his shot-making ability. His shot-making ability and his ceiling is so high, you just can't do it. And I love I love Giacochonis' game, dude.
Someone else who I do not do draft stuff with, but like someone else that I know who like does a lot of draft stuff. He was telling me the other day how he had Giacochonis in his top 3.
Oh,
and I was like,
it's possible, but over.
I was Harper? Like, well, no, he didn't tell me like who he had him about, like who was in his. He just said he had him like in his top 3.
Yeah,
and I was just like, he's around like 5 or 6 for me.
Yeah,
as of right now. But like once you get past Cooper, and even like maybe if you get past Harper, like you have Ace, you have Kasparas, you have
Yeager,
So it's like there's a pile of names. Again, this is just another teaser for whenever we do our tiers.
That's right.
But like they're in like a similar boat, and like you could, I mean, at least in my head, I can shuffle those guys around.
Right.
And then you could probably have the next tier with like guys like BJ, Knepel, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I would put Casp in that same tier like you mentioned with those guys. And I would definitely put Knipple, VJ, Edgecombe. Definitely, yeah. So that is a good teaser for our tier segment. So I do see what you're getting at for sure. But I do kind of think Cooper's on his own tier, though. Like, I think he is on his own tier, to be honest. But
me too. I was just thinking, like, who do I have 1 and who do I have 2?
Right.
But no, I do think Cooper's on his own tier. What's he shooting? Is it still low? 47, 45%. That's not that bad.
No, it's not bad. It's overblown. That's what I'm saying.
That bugged me, the discourse at the beginning of the season where it's just like, yeah, shooting efficiency stinks. That means this guy stinks. It's like, hey, if you watch the rest of his game.
Right.
And even when he's not shooting the ball efficiently, like, this guy's on his own planet. Like,
yeah.
No disrespect to these other guys, but.
No. I mean, because if you take into account that he's 6'9", 205 pounds, 17 years old, or I mean, they have him at 18 now, but and you look at the fact that he's getting 8.4 rebounds per game, almost 4 assists per game, over a full block per game, over a steal and a half per game.
Yeah.
We didn't even get to the offensive numbers yet.
Yeah.
He just does everything. He literally does everything.
And to me, for him specifically, it's like you can do whatever you want from like you're trying to, scheme against him or whatnot. He's still going to get to his spots. He's still going to do what he does.
He still does what he does.
And he's going to impact winning at a very, very, very high level, night in, night out.
And all his advanced stats are excellent as well. It's not like his advanced stats suck either. It's like, oh, correct. I got to check analytics. No, the analytics say he's also very, very good.
Correct.
So yeah, I that stuff definitely gets on my nerves. Definitely irritates me as well. But let me run through because I know, we're going 15 minutes long here. We're almost at an hour. I wanted to go through these slate of games real quick. We have my Pitt Panthers versus Duke and one Cooper Flag. So that's interesting for me. And they have a guard that is potentially NBA ready in Leggett, the Pitt Panthers, that is. North Carolina plays SMU. SMU is 11-3. It's played very well this year. And then we have Georgia at Kentucky. I'm actually very interested in that game. Can Asa Newell break through and get a win versus a ranked team, him and his Georgia Bulldogs? So that's very interesting to me. Marquette at Georgetown. So I don't know if Sober's still injured or not. The center that I wanted to look at for Georgetown. So Georgetown at Marquette. Texas at Auburn. That's the one. Texas at Auburn. Our guy Trey Johnson versus the Brooms, the Fighting Brooms. Your thoughts, Texas versus Auburn?
I don't know what he finished with on the stat line, but that was it just looked like a rough Trey Johnson game against A&M.
It was.
Yeah, okay, so I'm looking, 11 points on 2 of 13 shooting. I didn't have a box score up in front of me when I was watching it.
Right.
But it felt like there was at one point in the second half where he knocked down, I believe it was the pull-up jumper, like 17 feet from the basket. But other than that, like, he was making the right reads.
Yeah.
But then, like, whenever it came to him, it just never seemed like he was comfortable or balanced.
Right.
Again, this is like a foggy memory version of Trey Johnson, whenever that game was, Saturday, Friday, whenever that was.
January 4th, 3 days ago.
I lose track of my days at this point.
I'm looking at it on my phone. That's the only reason why I knew.
But like it just felt like a really rough Trey Johnson game. Again, like that's not probably one of the better defenses that he's faced this season. Like he's faced.
Oh, for sure.
UConn, he's faced. I don't think NC State's a bad defense. Ohio State, I think, is like a solid defense from what I can remember.
They're solid.
So it's not like he hasn't faced a good defense yet. But this Auburn team, I mean, number 2 team in the country, one of the best all-around teams in the country.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great test for him.
I agree.
To potentially bounce back because again, like he's going to be on the top of everyone's scouting report. That's just that's the kind of player he is. So
the thing I liked about that, though, man, the thing I liked is he still got to the free throw line. He got there 7 times, and he was 7 for 7. So
it was a very physical game from him too, from my recollection. Like he was definitely trying to get into the lane, but whatnot. But like whenever he was going up for a shot, I just didn't feel like he was 100% comfortable all the time.
Right. No, I agree with that, and he's going to have that because when we did the breakdown, I believe I did a video on it. His shot, even though I love his shot is beautiful. He is always off balance. Like he swings his right leg through it, like kind of rotates to the left.
Yeah.
He always does that. And you're going to have games where you find yourself uncomfortable because you're never quite on balance because of that. Maybe he can iron that out. Maybe it sticks with him. I don't know. But I just love the leadership that kid displays, the fight he plays with, and I'm excited to see how he bounces back against Auburn. And I get to see my guy, Todd Pettiford. I mean, the Heat game's on tonight, so I'm probably not going to get to see much of it. But, another Miami Heat adventure. But I am excited because Pettiford's another guy nobody really talks about. And because he comes off the bench, I think he gets sold short of how talented he really is. I think he's going to stay in school because this class is loaded. And I know the 2026 class is loaded as well, but I think he might have a little better shot when some of those seniors graduate, people go into the portal, and he's going to have an opportunity to really showcase his talents full time. I think that'll be better for his draft stock. That's the way I read that situation.
I agree.
Cool, man. Well, that is it for us today. If you have questions, don't forget to leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Before we get out of here, Matt, tell the people where they can find you, follow you, and get more of your work.
You can find me at NPH_824_. That's where you can find me on Twitter. I'm still not on Blue Sky, even though what the buzz was that for like a month ago or something like that. I'm still not on it. You could find me at hothoops.com. You could find me vendetta-sportsmedia.com. You could find me at mountainwestconnection.com. A lot of different places. You can also find me on playback.tv/5RSN, where you can see Adel and myself, among others, from the 5 Reasons Sports Network, watch the Miami Heat, talk about the Miami Heat during their games, cry about it. In some people's example, maybe sleep through it or something. I don't know. Did anyone fall asleep yesterday on stream? Who knows? Maybe off stream. Yeah, man. A lot of different spots, man.
Since you weren't there on playback, you don't know this, so I'll fill you in. I was tired.
Okay, I was listening to part of it at certain points during the game. Like,
did you hear the end of it?
Well, okay, you're gonna have to fill me in on this.
So it was coming to the end of the game, and I said, because this is whenever Jaime went to the free throw line. I said,
"Oh, don't tell me you said he was gonna make both.
He's gonna miss one." I wanted him to miss one. So that
why did you want him to miss one?
Because I didn't want the score to be tied. I didn't want that. And so the entire playback got on my case. They were so angry at me. It
was a 1-point game. What do you mean? They could tie it. If you missed one, it would have been 113-111.
Okay, so maybe I'm saying it wrong.
Or 103-101. I don't remember what
if it was a 1-point game, I wanted him to make both or to miss both. That's what it was. That's what it was. So this is
your fault.
That's it. That's what the chat said. Chat was so mad. Dude, they were so angry. Dude was like, "I will find you."
Well, yeah, because remember, it was a 1-point game.
Yeah.
And then Sack calls it was like 3 seconds left or whatever. Sack gets the rebound, calls the timeout, and then Keon gets fouled by Bam.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he splits the pair of free throws.
He split the pair. Yep.
Like, we're doing this again. We're running it back.
Yeah. And then Jaime missed them, and I'm like, well, there's no overtime. Sorry. And then we foul.
Jaime missed both, and the crowd was erupting. It was
oh, geez. I know. It was wild, dude. Wild.
And once Keon missed his first, it was like, oh, now you could hear a pin drop.
Dude, everybody was so mad like I did it. Like I forced Jaime to miss these free throws. I just wanted to go to sleep.
I'm sure everyone on stage wanted to go to sleep.
Yeah, dude.
But then you had to watch DeMar DeRozan completely take over in second overtime.
Dude, but in the regular season, that's what DeMar DeRozan does, man. He makes tough shots at the end of games. Only in the regular season, though.
He does it to the Heat a lot.
And he does it to the Heat a lot. But that is it for us today, guys. You can find me on Twitter and all social media at Digital Adele. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you on playback if you're a Heat fan. If not, I'll see you next time.